Good morning, everybody. Hey, hey, what's up? Just totally freaking fumbled that. This is Cowboy, aka Nick Petrozzello here. We got Ben Kelleran for Kelleran's Korner, and times are extremely interesting. We're going to have Ben walk us through what's going on with silver in China. Before we get to that, though, please take a look at the description. A couple goodies in there for you. We've got the Algo. It's a free Algo. I built it. I show you how I build it. It's not quite plug and play, but it's almost there. Just got to optimize it. And I show you not only how to make it, but how to plug it into your computer so that it can talk to your broker and trade for you while you are not sitting at the computer, which is, of course, the dream. In the meantime, Ben, we have your information in the description, how to reach you. But feel free to go ahead and give it a shout out. There's a lot of people who watch who may not know how to look at the description, but they're just listening. So let us know how to find you, and then let's get into it.
Yeah, so if you look up Contrarian Korner, you'll either find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, but also Substack. Substack is where I do more of the individual investment idea write-ups, and that's kind of what I've been focused on lately with some of the silver miners. But you can also find me on Twitter if you just look up Ben Kelleran. So that's a little less serious, but if you're interested in the investment ideas and some of the podcasts I do, there's lots of easy ways to find me.
Nice. And when he says Contrarian Korner, that's with 2 Ks, Contrarian Korner.
I always get the joke that I was 1K short. So
yeah. Well, hey, either you're playing baseball or a completely different game. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. We got all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm looking at silver sitting at $88. In fact, I think it touched 89 this morning. I saw a funny meme from Gus Demos. Let's see if I can bring it up. It's kind of hard sometimes to do that. Let me. Okay, got it here. New tab. I think I can do this. Okay, hold on one second. You're gonna like this. And of course, it's Gus Demos.
Yeah. Yep. I've seen that one.
Sorry, ladies. It is what it is. So yeah, man, you said you saw silver touching $100 in China. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'll share my screen here just so everyone can see the trading view chart. But I figured it'd make sense just to jump right in with this because I've been following this kind of semi closely over the last couple months. But it's been very interesting to see China and the Shanghai market for silver futures could pretty consistently be anywhere from a $5 to $7, $8, $9 premium. Right now, we're looking at a $11 premium, give or take. Right, so stuff that's not supposed to happen in markets where if there's physical silver available out there to close the gap and arbitrage it away by transporting from the U.S. over to China, right? There'd be big players doing that and making a boatload with a very low risk type of transaction. But I was kind of looking at, and this is based off yesterday's close, so this will be not up to date, but yesterday you had a close at 93 an ounce. And one thing I'll point out too, that's I think very interesting as well, is you have platinum and palladium at even wider gaps. And one thing that I should mention on this in particular is these aren't just paper markets, right? These are contracts designed to be settled physically. And there's if you go and dig into what's going to happen over the last couple months, if you go to and switch over to platinum, basically the day right here at the end of November was the first day of futures trading for platinum in Shanghai, right? So it's basically called a 50% rip in a month. And right now, 23.45 versus yesterday's close in China of almost 2,800 an ounce, right? That's a pretty chunky premium. Palladium, 22.50. I'm not as much of a bull on that, but the current price is now a little under 1,900 an ounce, right? So anytime you're seeing these gaps that are should be able to be arbitraged away in modern markets, you're gonna see I think a continued rally in silver. I think the rally in the metals has legs, and when we see something closer to parity is kind of what I'm expecting, then you might see a pause in silver or a bit of a pullback. But as like if you have silver touching 100 an ounce in China, and meanwhile we're below 90 here in the US, right? I don't think we're going to be like revisiting 50 an ounce. Could be wrong, but right, there's lots of different short-term traders and people are saying, oh, it's overextended, it's overheated. I mean, they're saying the same thing at 60 and 70. And like, to be perfectly honest, like I've been kind of surprised we haven't had a pullback, right? But at the same time, you kind of have to look at some of these different factors and say, hey, like if we're at a significant gap in China where like people are actually taking delivery for the most part, then you're going to have, I think, a different setup there. So we'll see where it goes. My guess is that we'll see $100 an ounce sometime this year. Not that ridiculous of prediction with us touching 90 and basically going up.
I want to see $100 an ounce today. I'm not joking. Well, no, I mean, I said last week, I think I predicted at the beginning of last week or the week before, I think I predicted like 97 an ounce, and we did have a pullback, but now we're sitting at 90. Well, I said 97 an ounce possibly by the end of that week, or the end of the month. Like it wasn't a hard call. But if you look at the trajectory, like,
well, it's been a 45-degree line since like end of November, really, just up and to the right. Like there's been 2 red days in a row one time, right? And that was quickly like above that high 2 days later, right? And that's, I think, a sign that like, I don't know when this train ends, but it's not going to be looking ahead 6 or 12 months. Like I think we're looking at significantly higher prices. And that's where if you look at the like margin hikes that were just done recently, it's basically like Luke is very sharp and he's, I think, spot on with this. And I've been kind of talking about this as well. It's like you're going to see the physical markets continuing to assert dominance over paper markets. And that's where you're going to see it for gold, silver, platinum, palladium. Eventually you'll see it for oil.
Is there a backwardation right now?
Well, I'm just talking about the Brent contract being like purely.
You're talking about oil. I thought you meant silver.
Well, I'm talking about eventually. Like oil's farther down the line. Silver's happening like right now. And if you kind of get into, actually that's separate. If you get into the kind of nitty gritty of what's happening right now, like my expectation is that we could see significant issues with the different delivery features and COMEX. And I think the London LBMA is going to be in trouble first. But the way I kind of look at it is like you have these spreads and premiums. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And even if you go look up, like I bought, helped my grandma buy some silver. And if you go look up like Silver Eagles on just one of the regular bullion sites, their prices like for all these websites are within like $1, give or take, for all these different things. And right now you've got like close to $100 an ounce physical. Actually, you do have 100 unless you're buying a big chunk. So like the point is,
over in Monex for a monster box of Eagles, you're paying, let's see here, silver. You're paying about 90. No, you're paying 95.
Yeah. If you're buying single ounces, 99, you'll get a little bit of a better deal buying 500 ounces at a time in a box. But, and the Eagle premiums are higher than some of the other options.
I would go Maples personally.
Yeah.
It's $3 less, $2 less, but it's also better silver, or Britannia's for that matter.
Yeah. No, my grandma wanted the American one specifically, so hard to talk her out of it. It's just metal value. But anyway, the point is, like, when you kind of see some of this stuff happening, I think we're gonna see like physical markets effectively become like that's the price setting mechanism. And how long it takes and what price that happens at, it'll be interesting to watch. But I've kind of been highlighting, like, for anyone interested in like looking at specific stocks, and like I think they're gonna significantly outpace just S&P and other stuff. But if you can find even like the big guys like Pan American, Hecla, Coeur, like some of the big ones that have exposure to silver, like right now, they're still pricing in 45 an ounce, 50 an ounce. Like I'll just pull up Coeur right now. It's not even at all-time highs. And you're looking at actually this one has like a very long history. So I'll see if I can go back. Yeah, no, it's got a ways to go before it sees all-time highs. And the same story with Pan American, same story with some of these other names. And like the big guys that are already producing, right? That cash is showing up today, right? And the smart ones don't hedge because no one buys silver miners. So like the management team can hedge production. So I'd be aware of that, right? If they're locking in to be selling all their silver or selling it forward at like 75 an ounce, or if they did that like a couple weeks ago, right? You're probably going to be a little bit frustrated. So anyway, the whole point of this rant is like, I'm going to keep touching on this while it makes sense, but you have gold doing the same thing at a little bit more reasonable pace. But I'll share my screen here and kind of rant on this for a bit. If you got to look at where like this goes as far as like long-term trend, long-term trajectory, people say, oh, it's the collapse of the US dollar, like end of fiat. Like you're going to start to see some of these narratives pop up and become more prevalent as you get gold to 5,000, gold to 10,000, whatever it is. 10,000 is obviously going to take some time, but like I would not be shocked at all by 6,000 by end of this year, right? Maybe more. So platinum, that's the basically redhead stepchild. It's going to be interesting to see where that goes, but
I think $6,000 gold is conservative.
Yeah, that's the thing is like you're going to have these times where it's like, okay, had a big run up, time to cool off for a month or two. And I think we'll see the same thing as silver at some point. Like no market goes straight up forever, right? That's why I've been kind of expecting something to come back in a little bit, but right, this could be something where we see like 5,000 in like a very like quick time frame. Like could be end of January, end of February type deal, right? And if you see that, then it's like, okay, people start doing round number bingo and expecting where it's going to go, right? Rob is thinking 6K in June, but point is like gold is basically the leader. All these other things follow. And one of the things that I think is going to be very interesting to see is what happens to the gold to silver ratio, which is now like I was kind of when I started buying the silver miners, I was like, okay, we're at 70, like we'll probably see 60 soon enough. And it took like all of like 3 weeks. And right now we're getting close to 50 and we could be due for a bounce where gold kind of starts to accelerate while silver hangs out for a bit. But this is one where it's like a very interesting long-term chart as far as looking at, okay, where does this thing usually sit? And like we're at the highest silver price relative to gold since 2013, 2012, right? So over a decade.
Silver panicked up to like 50,000 or 58 or not 50,000, 50 yep. Or 58. I forget the number.
Yep. This was a spike right here in 2011, April, May. And the very low on that one was 30. So you can start writing numbers on that, but generally there's some interesting trends where I've heard some very sharp people calling for like gold to silver at 10 or 3, but that's that leads to like a pretty extreme price outcome, and we'll see where it goes. But my guess is that we'll hang out around like Rob was saying, like this needs to take a break eventually as far as, okay, you can't just go like straight down in a flush forever without getting very overcooked. So we're gonna see where that goes, but my guess is there'll be a time to swap out silver and either buy land, stocks, real businesses, anything like that at some point in the future. I think we're
like
several years away from it.
2090.
I think it'll be
I'm
sooner
joking.
than that, but
A lot sooner than that, buddy.
It'll be three to 5 years,
Yeah.
is my guess. And like, I think we're going to be able to, anyone that's been stacking a fair bit of silver, like, I think there's a decent chance you'll be able to buy a house or buy a plot of land, buy a farm, whatever it may be, right?
What I was meaning is that like by 2080, silver is gonna be like $5 million an ounce. I was just cracking a joke.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that V. We talked earlier to Algo Factory. Yeah, good to have you here, V. By the way, you were saying like 500 by the end of the year. 500 an ounce silver is what you think?
Yeah,
right?
Look. I mean, $500 an ounce for silver by springtime is very, very feasible here. Okay, I mean, already several mints are 4 or 8 weeks out on orders. It's wild. There's definitely a supply crunch, and it's only going to get worse. And
I mean,
so
I like to think it'll take some more time than that, and there's going to be like more than just a spike for like this will be a sustained bull market.
Oh, it will be. It will be a sustained bull market for sure.
I think when you look at what's been happening recently, like a lot of these silver miners are still pricing in 40 or 50 an ounce. I've kind of beaten that drum to death already today, so we can move on to other stuff. But
I think the thing to understand, like, so having spent enough years in cryptocurrency, what did Buffett say? The market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent.
That was not Buffett. That was John Maynard Keynes.
Okay.
The market can stay solvent longer than you can stay rational.
I think the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. Right.
Correct. That's what it is. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, friggin' Dr. Seuss said one fish, two fish, but I think
red fish, blue fish.
I think what matters here is that when you've seen things run up so quick, I've seen things continue to go and go and go and go because of panic buying. So there comes a time when what happened in the past is not really that relevant. And I know normalcy bias will have people be like, oh, well, it can't go up forever or it can't just keep going up. Guess what? It can. It absolutely can. And a lot of it has to do with it's just public panic. And a lot of it has to do with a lot of technology that silver's involved with. And it's really hard to price things or predict price. What did you say, Ben? Round number bingo. I mean, that really is it, though, because at that point, when you have what's called a lexicographic demand, what you're looking at is people just selling when it hits a number. Like round number bingo is a thing at that point.
Yeah. Unannounced. That's a big, it'll be a big goalpost to see if we have to take a couple tries at it or if it just like goes through like a hot knife through butter. So we'll see.
And you won't know until it happens. So I think that, I think it's wise to take profits along the way. But with an asset like this, it's physical. We're going into very strange times. Like, I certainly wouldn't get rid of all my physical, even if I was up times 5. I wouldn't get rid of all of it. I don't think it's going to go back down. I would look at it like money in the bank, and I would even buy more rather than sell it. I know that's like hard, really, and it's not recommendation, and we don't give investment advice. I just think that at this point, long term, I think it's going to pay off. Yeah, sure. It could bounce off of like 98 and go down to like 50. But honestly, I don't think that's gonna be the case. I don't think we're gonna see 50 ever again. I could be wrong, but
the Chinese, there were a couple, solar panel manufacturers that were basically going all the way, like all over the place in South America, trying to get concentrate for 80 an ounce, and at the time, silver is trading at 71. Right, so it's not like pure silver, but they're going around like looking for physical at premiums, and I think that's going to continue, and that's where I pulled up this chart. And
concentrate is like a Dory bar, right?
Yeah.
Like those are like 90%, I think.
Yeah. But this is a recommendation to at least look at some of these stocks if you guys play in different markets. Like this is something where you're basically sitting at a.
Can you give us the ticker on that?
Yeah, this is SILJ divided by silver. So the Silver Juniors ETF divided by silver. And what you kind of see here is there's been only a handful of times we've really been at valuations like these. just relative valuations. And when you see basically liftoff, you can get massive moves in a short period of time. And this has been something where it's like, hey, this is like a decades long setup waiting to go. And this is like, this ETF doesn't even really have actual juniors. Like there's a good chunk of it in Hecla, Pan American Silver, First Majestic, guys like that, where like these are big companies, but when this goes, like people are gonna, I think, pile into some different names. And if you start like throwing darts effectively at some of the smaller guys, a lot of these things are set up to like earn their entire current market cap in the next year or two. And when you get setups like that, it's, especially if you think silver is going to keep rolling, I think it's the type of thing where you can have pretty compressed returns in like a 1 to 2 year window where it's like, okay, this is time to take some off. But right now, it's not like we're seeing like the exuberance in some of the silver miners like we might be seeing in physical right now. So
yeah, maybe they're just trying to get us to sell.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people like smart investors hoovering up shares in the gold miners as well. And you see, let's do this one. This one is just GDXJ to gold. And this one in 25 is actually started to move, but you start to zoom out and see where it was. It's like the kind of move where you're like, oh, this is still early innings, right? And it's kind of the same for GDX, but GDX is a little bit farther along, and the miners and that focus on gold have been moving. And the silver miners are very much lagging right now. So I think there's some relative value to be had for people that are interested in actually buying something and understanding what it's worth. So
I think part of the issue with the miners and why that might be, not pacing with the physical is just they got to remain capitalized. So, I think a lot of them, and I hate to say this, you would think that miners would know exactly what's going on in the world with metals. Like they're at the literal ground floor. In fact, technically they're below ground. So you would think they'd have a better handle on what's going on, but I don't know. It just might be that they need the money and they have to take profit and be conservative. It might be that they're like, okay, it's slowing down. We better take some profit before we get, hit by a pullback. But I'd say the longer they can hold on, the better,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just thinking like a silver bull. Maybe that's the wrong way to think, but
yeah,
that's how I see it.
Well, I think when you look at it and zoom out and say, okay, people are going to take a look at, and this is where like Q4 earnings will be coming up here in the next month. People will take a look at the companies that are already producing, and it's going to be like, holy smokes, the numbers we were running on estimates of 40 an ounce on silver, like Q4 average was like 55, right? And we're in the third week of Q1, and silver has spent like no time below $70 an ounce. And basically we're already into the 80s, right? And so you start running numbers on some of these things where you think silver is going, and it might take 3 to 6 months for people in the market to say, hey, like this thing is now trading at a price to earnings, price to cash flow of like 1 times, right? Whatever it is to make money flow into some of these names. But there are some that are not in the ETFs and not as widely talked about that are worth a look. So
nice. So we got we have silver on the move, obviously. Gold seems like they take turns. I haven't really analyzed the chart just yet, but kind of, usually in large, or let's just say in classes that have consistent volume and attention in asset classes, you'll notice that there's a rotation theory, right? Everybody gets in, takes some profit into the next. You were talking about platinum and palladium. You mentioned those briefly. Let's just say out of the 4, you got gold, silver, platinum, palladium. If I were to, overweigh on one of those, which do you think it would be? And I know you're not giving advice.
Yeah, if I were buying today, I think the setup is still very interesting for platinum. This is where you can look back at where we are, and this is effectively at all-time lows, and that's with platinum having like a pretty good run here, I guess spike in 1980. But point is, you're at a point where like, and it's a similar chart relative to gold where like that one's just started to turn up, but platinum and silver is like basically saying platinum is more of a bargain. And this is not like a 3-month view. This is kind of looking back and saying, okay, over the next 3 years, if you're buying physical, right? Because you have to pay premiums, you have to hold on to it longer, right? This is not like a 1 week trade, right? For all I know, silver could be 100 an ounce in the next 2 weeks. But point is, like, when you zoom out on this thing and see where platinum has traded, like platinum is right. Gold relative to silver, I think, is mined at like a 10-to-1 ratio, where you get 10 times more silver out of the ground, roughly, and platinum is 30 times more scarce than gold. So there's the scarcity argument. It's there is an ETF. It is like kind of frustrating to work with platinum coins and like some of the premiums, which have been fairly high lately. But like the platinum ETF, the one that I mentioned to other people is PPLT, right? And that's for anyone interested in like, okay, this might be not like a super long-term trade, but I'm interested enough in platinum to see what's going on, right? Just for pure price exposure, this is going to be the one to focus on. So that's, I mean, that chart looks a little bit like tough to buy up here versus where it was in basically early 25. But I think the setup is basically we're going to be looking at 3,000 an ounce on platinum by end of this year, probably by the middle of this year, honestly. And longer term, I would not be shocked if platinum passes gold as far as going back 1-to-1, going back to parity. So if I were looking to add a physical metal today, like platinum would be at the top, probably silver next, and then gold.
V, where do you think we see platinum go in the next 12 months?
You're talking to the only man on planet Earth that has traded a sixth of the entire platinum supply in 1 year. And I've been bullish on this for forever, since I cut my teeth in metals 15 years ago. And I'll tell you this, and if you guys remember Eric Sprott when he was doing his platinum allocations, right? You guys remember that? This is going way back.
This is good. This is before my time.
Yeah, all right. So this was a major platinum fund started out in Toronto. At that time, I was one of the guys brought in to consult on a few things in that regard. And that was the time when I moved to 6 of the world's platinum. That was a huge ass deal. And then on top of that, long story short, platinum is the world's thinnest traded metal. Okay. Which it is so thinly traded. Can you hear me?
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's so thinly traded, and the supply is so crunched. And let me tell you something, guys. We're moving into the world, and I've said this back then, 12, 13 years ago when I first came out onto the airwaves, not out of the closet, Cowboy. I know you were going to say that joke, so I wanted to head you off the curb. But anyway, it's such a thinly traded metal. And when you're talking about the next generation of energy, fusion energy in particular, you cannot do fusion without platinum. And the reason for that is because platinum has those naturally imbued crystal lattices that are so proficient in fusion reactions, which does not happen with any other metal. The reason for that is that the Pallas Athena metals, the metals of platinum and palladium and rhodium, these are the Pallas Athena metals, right? These metals are not from the Earth. They're here through meteor strikes, okay, and asteroid impacts and such. So it's very, very thinly traded. Platinum right now is an absolute steal, and Ben is right. there's going to be a time where gold and platinum will be 1-to-1, and platinum will eventually supplant gold in value. That is going to happen. So if you have an opportunity to get platinum, folks, and this is not investment advice, you should do it. You should consider it.
But it's sort of advice. But the one thing that I've been looking into recently, there's another investor that's been all over this, is the rhodium side of things, which is even more scarce. Like, it's kind of a byproduct of certain platinum mines.
Correct.
Are you familiar with that one at all? Like, I've looked into it and it's compelling, but like trying to actually buy
sourcing is difficult because of
like a non-starter.
It is a non-starter because what it is, it's raw. You can get monetary grade platinum. You can get it. LBMA sells it. Certain mines and mints sell it.
Yeah.
The problem with rhodium, it's in such a raw state, and it's already been accounted for due to industrial demand. It's already been accounted for. So actually procure physical rhodium at any sort of an amount is going to be in an amount that actually makes a difference is going to be difficult, extremely difficult.
I think, would you argue that even platinum, but especially something like rhodium, to try to procure and trade it physically in your local town, unless you're in like LA or New York or something, is probably not going to go so well?
You're gonna have better luck with platinum, I think.
Platinum, man. Rhodium, it's don't even work. The only way you're trading rhodium is you go out to your neighborhood and start cutting catalytic converters. That's the only way you're trading rhodium.
I used to deal with that.
Is that what you're hinting at? You want to find out where all the U-Haul centers are to start cutting?
Yeah, exactly. Because we used to deal with that in the insurance business. We have it was always trucks because you can get up underneath a truck.
Easy, right?
Yep.
Yeah. There is a physical rhodium ETF or something of that sort. That's London Exchange. It's like very liquid, but apparently it's a pain in the ass to deal with. So I've just stuck with platinum. But I do find it interesting. It's like the type of metal where it'll spike from, like, I think it went up like 1,500% or something, like a couple times in the last decade, where it's just like does these moonshots when it really gets going. So anyway, definitely something to think about and consider, but I think it's definitely more feasible to go after physical platinum if you're going to hold on to it for like 3 years plus. And Short Bus is talking about copper. The problem with something like copper is like you have to store it and figure out what to do with it, right? It's like very tough to like, I'm going to buy like $5,000 worth of copper, right? That's like 1,000 pounds, give or take, maybe a little bit less now, right? So as far as like the size, like don't get me wrong, copper is probably going to $8 or $10 a pound at some point in the next 2 to 3 years. But as far as actually trying to store wealth and store value, like copper is not the tool for that job.
You get a couple of tons of copper.
Yeah, I mean, and also I think silver's got more upside anyway.
Yeah. I had a client of mine that had 16,000 ounces of silver at a vault at the Delaware Depository, and they were doing some shenanigans over there. So I had my client pull it, but my God, the amount of weight! I'm like, what the hell are you doing with this much silver? Like $5 million of gold you could put in your wife's shoebox,
Yeah. Well, that's the same argument with like platinum too, as well. As if you have to store, like, it's not like I have some like 100-ounce stash or something ridiculous, but like if you have to store wealth in like concentrated form and keep it on your person, right? There's a point where you have a certain amount of silver and it's like, okay, like you're gonna need to find a vault somewhere. You're gonna need to find something because you can't have like more than a certain amount. Like you're just not gonna be able to take it with you. So, but yeah, anyway, I figure that's kind of enough chat on the precious metals, but I do want to kind of keep hammering home, like for people listening, like this is going to be a time where a lot of things change. And I think one of the best places to hide out as far as like risk reward, specifically focused on the lower risk side of things, is owning physical precious metals. So, with that said, like, have you guys been paying attention to what's going on in Ukraine and some of the Oreshnik strikes and,
I heard that
with the power grid?
Like in 2021, Putin started like an operation there. I'm just kidding.
No, it was 2022.
Oh, okay. I know. I heard something about Germany trying to say that they could stop Russian strikes, but their technology is like not even.
The
Well, they
U.S.
could with the
the U.S.
broomstick.
couldn't stop Rushnik, so why would anyone think Germany could?
Yeah.
Because uns they still have the Wunderwaffens.
Yeah, we have the missiles. We shoot up in the air and they stop the other missiles. But the problem is, it doesn't work.
I mean,
have the
apparently last
Wunderwaffens.
week, I'll pull up the footage here, and this is a good person to follow for all the current event stuff, specifically focused on.
Read that CIA PSYOP narrative about the Venezuelan security guards narrative.
Oh, with
That's
the
making
they're
rounds.
vomiting. And
It's so
blood, yeah.
fucking stupid.
It's like some like bloody nose, like some
We'll
super
get
soldier.
to that after
Yeah.
after this, but this is the. I don't think it'll have sound for you guys, but
Those arresting sites are unbelievable, man.
if you here, I'll zoom it in.
I was gonna say, zoom in on that.
Yeah, it's basically the type of weapon where you look at it and it's like, holy smokes, man.
Dude, it's fucking
Yeah,
unbelievable.
We've been busy developing just bullshit weapons for like fighting in the dirt in the Middle East.
Well, we have to take care of Israel's enemies, okay? So, Ben, I told you, unless you worship Israel, you're going to go to hell. That's what the Bible says.
That's what it
Yeah.
says. Yeah, the Schofield Bible, anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, you have
So
some of
play
these
that
things-
video.
He
Huh?
did. Ben,
Oh,
when
he did?
you share that screen, you should be able to toggle sound on. So let me take it off and then reshare, and you'll have like an option. It's a little purple
All right.
toggle on the
Share
bottom right of the
screen.
screen where you can add sound.
All right, let's
If
try
you
it
can't,
again.
just send me a link and I'll do it because people got to hear this.
Okay. All right, we'll go back to.
And then make sure it's also on like
And
there.
blow it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
blow it up, and then there should be a volume on there. You got to hit.
Yeah, it is. All right, tell me if you guys can hear this.
Nah. Can you send me the link? Because the people
It-
got to hear
It's
this.
like the lightning bolts of
It comes-
Zeus, bro.
It comes later. Do you hear that
There
now?
it is. Yep.
Yeah. Well, like that's the thing is like people talk about the rods from God and some of these
Yeah.
other things. Like it makes me nervous about the kind of where all this heads, but it does seem like the Russians are. Oh, here's another angle. Well,
Yeah,
Well,
what
just
you
play.
don't
Hold
get is how fast those are going.
Look at that thing.
The missiles don't go. When you see strikes from like older missiles, it's not that fast. This is
No.
like
yeah,
Yeah,
insane.
thunderbolts from Zeus, man.
yeah.
You're not stopping that.
Well, that's
No.
the thing. I think there's a piece in this post, and yeah, I think it's like Mach 10 is what they're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mach
Mach
10,
10.
plus it can go up to Mach 12 is what I'm hearing, depending on payload. So if that, it's crazy, bro.
Yeah, but they
It's
hit.
crazy.
Yeah, they hit apparently like the largest gas storage site in Ukraine, and now there's issues with the power grid, which, from
Good.
my understanding of geography, January in Ukraine is not a fun place to be.
No, unless you're in the
Especially without
nightclub.
power.
The Ukrainian nightclubs in Kiev are fine. They have power, so if they could reroute the power from the Kiev nightclubs to the rest of the city, they should be fine because that's where all the oligarchs' kids are partying. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, like that's the
so
thing with all
If
this.
you've
that-
noticed, like Ukraine's been hitting Russian like offshore like rigs. So
yeah, and tankers.
in tankers and stuff. So Ukraine got nothing left except for terrorism. That's what they have. So what they have to do is terrorism. And so at this point, Russia's been, and I know everybody wants to say what they want to say, but the reality is, like, if you have people in nightclubs in Kiev, obviously the war is not that bad, right? So, I've seen all kinds of videos of people just going about Kiev like it's normal day. We're not in a total war scenario. It's more surgical. Russia is taking its time, and there's a lot of reasons for that, and we could get into that. But the point is that the desperation has caused Ukraine to be hitting Russian oil like targets, just a small amount of them inside the Russian border, and then tankers and offshores. And so now Russia's like, okay, you want to mess around? We're going to start hitting your energy infrastructure because, like, the power's been on. If Russia wanted to take down Ukraine, it would be like, okay, just if they really wanted a total war scenario, they just take out their power grid, decap strike. They'd be done in I don't know, a short amount of time. I think it might take days or weeks. So this is, I think, in response to to Ukraine, going after being terrorists,
But the
basically.
CIA said,
the
CIA said that they weren't targeting Putin. They were targeting something that was next to Putin's house, guys.
Well, there was the Putin's house thing, but also they've been hitting like energy infrastructure in Russia as well, like refineries and such. But didn't you say that? I think it was like a year ago. Putin made an announcement that they're actually labeling what they're doing in Ukraine now as a counter-terrorist operation, right?
Yep.
And doesn't that have implications politically?
It does, and it's Zelensky's on borrowed time, and he's in total collapse and is being isolated.
Yeah, you also had the Venezuela thing, which I'm not sure if any of this is related directly to, but I'm sure the Russians aren't happy about it. So, but it is funny to see. I don't know if you guys saw this. All the energy companies like going to the White House, and then there's like some press conference, and all the energy companies are basically like, "Yeah, unless you stabilize things, like we're not interested."
Exactly.
Right? Because they've been on this ride before in Venezuela in particular, as far as getting assets nationalized, and so it's like, look, we'll go in there and we can do the work, but unless you guys make it very clear that we're not going to get basically hosed the third time for some of these companies, and they're just not interested, right? They'll be focused on Guyana. They'll be focused on other areas of the world. So
yeah, Exxon, I think, was the primary complainer on that one.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of them where it's, I think Conoco was asking about getting reimbursed for like 12 billion. And I think the response basically is like, no, that money's gone. Like, it's like, well, if you're a company looking at it, right, and you're a CEO, right, why would you put your ass on the line if it's something where, hey, like in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be, Trump's not the guy, and you now spent billions of dollars and you're getting nationalized again, right? So,
well, on top of that, their oil's just not very profitable.
It's the best oil in the world.
Well, it kind of depends on the application for it. It's complicated as far as the build out and what it requires infrastructure wise, but from what I've heard, the lifting costs are just extremely low if you can have modern infrastructure. So it takes upfront investment, obviously, but it sounds like from what I've heard that they can make today's oil prices work in Venezuela easy, right? Even if you're getting a quality discount on the type of crude.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like though that if you're not going to get the front end because people think it's going to be the next Vietnam, and then as cheap as it may be, it doesn't matter, right? You have to have the infrastructure in place.
Yep.
And who are you going to sell it to? I mean, my understanding is that that heavy crude, heavy sour, good for shipping. Maybe I think that's a Tom Luongo comment. So I'm not sure the application.
It depends on the timeline we're on, Cowboy.
Oh, Jesus be. So, that said, I don't know, I think whether or not the oil is feasible or profitable now or in the future, I think the real thing in Venezuela is for the U.S. to go in. And I think there's a few different things going on down there, but one of them, the lens that I look through is the finance lens. And I think that the U.S. can tell the world, hey, we have control of the world's largest oil field, and whether or not that's true is another story. And then therefore the world is willing to accept our debt. And then the oil companies that do decide to sign on will be able to print corporate debt. And I think it's more about a way to just print debt and sell it mostly. I could be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, there's some arguments about being about the petrodollar, about being about other resources that Venezuela has. There's lots of gold and lots of other things buried in the jungle, but we'll kind of see what happens. I'm curious to see where it goes. The one thing that people look at and say, well, what's next? It's Venezuela and then Cuba, which I'm sure you guys have seen some of the talk on Cuba and Iran and Greenland and some of these other places. What's your guys' view on what the next potential move is going to be?
I think they're going to they'll try something stupid in Iran. It won't be. We're not going to be too involved in that one. It's going to be the idiots from the Levant. I think we're going to make a serious move on Greenland. I think it's.
You think before Cuba?
Probably. Greenland's completely undefended. We'll take a move, but I don't think it'll be like a military move. I think it'll be a forced diplomatic move. Through pressure.
Yeah, it'll be. Yeah. Here's 100,000 per citizen. Like, take it or else, basically something like that. Yeah.
Well, they're already trying to legally justify it by saying that somehow they didn't. Denmark didn't have the authority way back when. They're trying to do the paper game with it.
Yeah, do the post hoc reasoning.
I think Iran. I think whatever's going on in Iran is probably done. I understand that the protests were going on in hundreds of cities, and now it's down to dozens, and that's coming from Joaquin Flores, who seems to have a pretty good.
Yeah, they're trying to hang the Mossad spies that were there.
Yeah, I think that was like you said, a Levantian thing. Maybe a little bit of I don't know what else.
Did you guys see that idiot Patrick Bet David, who was out there shilling for the fucking son of the Shah, who has zero connections to anybody in Iran? He even said, "I don't know anybody in Iran. I don't know, but install me as king." I'm like, what the hell are you gonna do? Rule through Skype?
It's a timeline thing.
Zoom. He's gonna do Zoom calls.
He's gonna
rule Iran. Are you a fucking idiot, bro?
No, yeah. He's so behind. It's gonna be Skype.
Yeah, it's gonna be Skype. Exactly correct, bro.
All right,
he's gonna be doing his edicts from ICQ.
Here's a question for you guys.
ICQ is too old for any of you guys. I guess I was early on that.
Ice Cube.
ICQ.
Oh, ICQ. Yeah.
You got if you guys know ICQ in the comments, make a comment because that's taking it way. That's like 1998.
PBD's he's one of those sellout Iranians.
He's
who shills for Israel. That's who Patrick Pet David is.
Yeah.
David.
The one question I saw something about this on Twitter, and so it must be true. But if you want to share that screen, this is something that I just saw. I guess this yesterday. I don't know if you've seen anything about this, but
can you zoom that in, Ben?
Yeah. So this is the apparently Iranian rial to US dollars, which I don't know if this is real or not. That's the thing, is like I don't have
who knows. It's not even it's interesting because it's not even a globally traded currency, Well,
that's the thing, is like you wonder if these charts and like headlines and all caps type posts are basically designed to circulate at a certain time, and that's where I don't know if you've heard anything about this, but I was like, it's at least interesting. I don't know if it's real or not. So
yeah.
Anyway,
it's hard if it's not being traded internationally.
Correct. That's why I think it's more psychological, like that CIA created narrative of a Venezuelan security guard.
What was the conclusion on that? We used some like sci-fi weapons on him.
Yes,
and that's what people.
I was bleeding from my orifice.
Yeah, they're saying that like vomiting and nosebleeds and
diarrhea.
All that. I'm like, okay,
all right. And 20 operators killed 300 Venezuelans in 20 minutes. Okay, buddy.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I think the way it played out, like giving it like a week or two to kind of breathe, news cycle to circulate a little bit, right? It's pretty obvious there's inside help.
Absolutely. We paid off assholes, and they let the radar systems down. They came in, they took the guy.
And then
and most guys who are military analysts with some background says it's probably the paid off dudes that killed the 32 Cuban bodyguards.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. That's the thing, is like you see how quick it happened, and apparently like some of the different details of it all points, like it all screams like, hey, someone on the inside was giving him up or coordinating things or whatever, right? So we'll see where it goes, but yeah, Shorebus does have a point with some of the interesting military weapons as far as the radiation and different things like that. So like, is that technology out there? Like, I'm pretty confident it is. Was it used in Cuba or in Venezuela? Like, no idea. maybe not. So
Yeah, maybe they wanted to test it out. I don't think it's somebody made a comment in the short bus. Mooner was talking about the what was it, Havana syndrome, and I mean these weapons are not that advanced. It's stuff that happened in like the 90s. So I mean, okay, fine, they were vomiting and nose bleeding. That's not that hard to do in the current world of technology. It isn't like it's some super soldier, what is it, deep storage alien tech. It's just making people vomit and nosebleeds, like whatever. Okay, fine. So we did that in like the 60s.
well, I mean, if you go into the files, like directed energy weapons and technology like that has been around for a long time.
Very long time. Yeah.
Same with weather modification, shit like that, where right 5-10 years ago you start talking about chemtrails, people think you're nuts, and it's like, well, I look out my window and see them most mornings. So it's now like starting to be admitted like, hey, they're doing something funky with the weather. But yeah, anyway.
Well, if you eat bugs, you can fix the weather, apparently.
Yeah, much less carbon dioxide emissions and all that BS.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Those were kind of the main topics I had for today. I don't know if you guys have anything else you guys are focused on as far as different things. I guess the political side, one last thing I will throw in. Have you guys been paying attention to the guy running for governor in Florida?
No.
Oh, the Zionist guy?
No, James Fishback. He's running against Byron Donalds.
No, who's Fishback?
So he's like has some experience in finance and investments, and has been
Is he
doing
the BlackRock guy?
No, he's he had worked for David Einhorn for a bit, and then there's some like falling out there. But he's got kind of an interesting background and has some interesting proposals. I think he was on Tucker recently. And
I think so. Okay.
Yeah, 3 or 4 days ago he's on.
He has
Tucker.
dark hair, right?
Yeah, white guy, brown
dark
hair,
hair, glasses.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Tell me about him.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a much better option than Byron Donalds because he's not,
and he's anti-Zionist too.
Very much so. Yeah,
Yes.
In Florida, no less.
Yeah,
and Florida's run by Zios,
which is maybe a like tough road to like try and run on. But if you look at some of the stuff he said and like some of the policies he's like planning to implement or saying he's planning to implement, right? I think he's got a real shot. So it'll be a while to see how that turns out, but definitely something to talk about where he's talking about different things with residential real estate. His most recent proposal is like a 50% tax on OnlyFans earnings, like shit like that, where it's like designed to get attention on social media, but also right when you like think about it, like that's not the worst thing in the world if we're going to start going after like private equity that owns real estate and some of these different things where it's like, hey, like we're going to start trying to do things that are better for the average American citizen. And he's talked about the illegal immigration and all these different topics. So
he won't win then. He'll be kicked. He won't be allowed to win.
That's the thing. It's like he's got, I think he has a shot as far as like winning the publicity game. Will he be the guy when that election comes around?
I hope
no.
So.
They'll count the votes. They'll put pizza boxes in the window and deliver, black bins at 12 a.m. I don't think they'll ever allow anybody like that to win again.
But I mean,
here's the thing: Florida is one of those states that it could be very possible. Honestly speaking,
they tightened up their voter fraud stuff way more than other parts of the country.
This guy could win. That's the reality of it.
If it's run by the Levantians, though, I don't know. I mean, you're talking about, what you're now invoking is the possibility that we can vote ourselves out of it.
Well,
not at a federal level, but on certain local municipalities, that absolutely.
Well, that's a state. That's not just a municipality.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see where it goes. I think he's a better option than Byron Donalds, but it'll be interesting to see because DeSantis has seemed like he's off to a good start. In the last couple of years, it's been like, oh, we're going to pass this anti-Semitism bill, or oh, we're going to pass some other shit. And so he's clearly thrown in the towel on being, I think, the presidential candidate in 28. but we'll see. So anyway, that was kind of the thing that I thought was interesting as far as political stuff, and definitely something to keep an eye on to see if it develops that way. But it'll be interesting to see. This is like midterm year. Markets are doing weird things. You have the metals going ballistic, and most of the other areas are doing not a whole lot. So we'll see where it goes. But I'm pretty excited to see what happens with some of the metals, some of the markets, some of the politics, even though I think the midterms could be a wipeout for the so-called conservative Republicans and whatnot if they don't get their act together on some of the deportations and whatnot. So definitely gonna be a lot to talk about this year, that's for sure.
Yeah, totally, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of opportunities, and I think that at this point we need to focus on where we can win them. I don't think that anybody is coming to save us per se. My outlook is not as dire as other people's. I'm not, I'm not black-pilled, but I think that counting on like a politician to fix your problems so far is not working out that great. So, I think the best thing we can do is protect ourselves financially.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. And then if they do kind of earn people's votes in heading into the midterms, then maybe things will change and maybe there is a shot at the federal side of things. But at least for now, like I'm still pretty much tuned out or checked out of like, okay, they have a window here to see if they can earn people's trust back, but they're gonna have to do a lot that is not at the top of the Zionist agenda, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with it. So awesome. Well, any final thoughts, guys?
No, I think that was what I wanted to get over. So
awesome. Great show, Ben. Awesome job.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah,
Well, thank you guys for listening in. Cowboy, do your thing, bro.